Let me show you how I trim a competition style brisket. Now this is going to be a little bit different than kind of the separating it from the point from the flat. I'm going to keep everything intact and try to trim this brisket kind of Texas style, kind of how they cook it in IBCA and other locations. I'm going to kind of round it out and kind of come around. Now we're starting out with a beautiful RC Ranch Wagyu beef brisket out of Texas. They were kind enough to ship me this brisket. It's 14.5 pounds. I've kind of took it out of the cryovac. As y'all can see, it's got a nice big beautiful flat on it. Got a nice good point on it here. Still got some good fat on it. And I'm gonna try to save the trimmings today, and I'm gonna use them in some grind later on. I'm gonna freeze them. So I've got my Victorinox knife here. I'm just gonna kind of start knocking some of that fat right off the top of that, kind of in between the point and the flat right here, some of that deep pocket of fat. I want to get it down where it's a little smooth. Now, one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of lay this out, and I kind of want to see what I'm working with here on the edge. So I'm going to go around this brisket here and just kind of cut down. Keep trimming around. Now, let me turn it up. Oh yeah, you can see that where that point's running right here and how the flat is. So I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go on around this brisket and kind of shape this up right here. Now I'm gonna come on back right here, and on this side it's always kind of thin. So I'm always looking, our grain is kind of running just like this. You can kind of see it in that brisket. So this side over here that kind of tapers down and kind of thin, I'm not gonna leave that on there. I'm gonna kind of cut that off. Come right here, trim that off. Now, kind of mash this brisket kind of flat. And just start trimming off some of that top right here. Now you can start on the top, on the bottom. It really doesn't matter, it's completely up to you. I'm just kind of looking and seeing what I'm working with. Trim some more off of this. I'm gonna go ahead and knock off some of this knuckle right here and kind of round it. Because like I said, I'm gonna use it in a grinder anyway. I know I'm grinding up some of that point meat, but it doesn't bother me at all. Yeah. Let's turn this brisket around. Now when you pull up this meat right here, a lot of people like to refer to this as kind of the mohawk of the brisket. So I'm just gonna kind of come right here with my knife and trim that mohawk off. Would have kind of set a little more flat. Now I'm gonna keep trimming a little bit of this fat off right here. Now when I get down here, that fat's not as thick on that, but I can feel right here where it's thick, so that's why I'm trimming a little bit more of that off. Now, get this knife away from me here. Come down here and we're gonna get a little more of this off. Just kind of taking that top layer of kind of hard skin off. We're gonna leave a little bit of fat on the bottom of this flat. You just want to keep knocking that silver skin off. I try to remove as much as I can. Sometimes you'll get right up beside the meat, like I'm starting to get on some meat there, so I don't want to. I'm going to pull up anything I can and kind of cut off here. Just kind of make sure. I just don't want to get into that meat at all. Now, when you can't kind of get where it's running, you can take your hand and run under that brisket here and kind of lift it up. See how I can get that one little piece off of there. And I'm kind of being really, I'm going to use this brisket for a full-on practice cook for a competition, so that's why I'm kind of being a little minute by getting a lot of that off and being a little particular about it. I mean, cooking at home, you do not have to do all that. It's completely up to you. Now, let's turn this around. We probably need to see what we're working with kind of through here. So I'm going to come back on this edge right here and kind of do the same thing around. Kind of cut that off. Now, let me move this pile of trimmings when we start working a little bit more. So far, you can see just what I've shaped up and what little bit of trimming I've done. This brisket looks so much better. I'm gonna go back and knock these points off here and kind of make it really even. I may get my scissors out. Let's trim a little bit more of this out. Let's get some of this silver skin and hard fat right off the top of this brisket. Now you just want to be gentle and try to feather as much of that off as you can with kind of out dipping too much into the meat. And as many years as I've been trimming briskets, sometimes you just can't help it. You can't prevent it. You almost need a brisket on a carousel where you can just keep twirling it around because you see you want to trim from different angles all the time. Also, this fat vein right here that I'm kind of getting on, you can get really deep right here trying to trim that out. A lot of times it's not worth it because you're gonna kind of create a valley right here. A lot of that's gonna render, so I really wouldn't worry about it. I'm even gonna leave some of this right here. I mean, I'm gonna get a little bit of it off, but a lot of that, you know, the way we're cooking, it's gonna render. I'm just trying to trim the highs and all that out of it now. I'm kind of keep flattening it out. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and make the decision when I come back in this brisket here. I'm gonna go ahead and round this off a little bit more right here back into here. I'm gonna take just a little bit more of this off. Kind of stand my knife up. Oh yeah. Now, this is going to allow me right here to kind of knock some more of this fat off of this side, kind of smooth that angle around. I'm gonna tell y'all that brisket is looking good. That is what I'm looking for right there. Now, I'm gonna turn this back over and I'm gonna shave just a little bit off right here because that's just a tad bit high on that point. Now that I'm done using my knife pretty much, I went and got my scissors and I'm gonna pick this brisket up. And I'm just gonna start going around the edges here. Kind of any sharp edges I kind of want to trim off and peel off. I'm gonna tell you, I think I'm gonna live with that brisket. That is very pretty. Let me clean it up just a little bit, wipe it off here, change gloves real quick. As you can see, we got our brisket trimmed up. I changed out this butcher paper here. Now I'm gonna be totally honest. If this was not at home, I would probably get a little more meticulous, pull out my long fillet blade and kind of go down this brisket and slick every bit of it up, like with a surgical blade. But this is just a practice at home, and so I know that's not that big of a deal. So I've got my brisket kind of how I want it. So now let's put it up and get ready to cook a brisket.